My dear people of the Southern Cameroons, welcome to another fascinating segment. This video is going to be an eye-opener for you. This video will change your life. So grab a cup of coffee, buckle your seatbelt, and let's get to work. In this video, we will discuss strategy. I'll give you an overview of our problem, how long it will take us to solve this problem, the resources required, how much it will cost for the UN to finally step foot in Southern Cameroons and look into our situation. Now, what I want you to understand is every problem was created by man, and every problem can be solved by man. Our issue in the Southern Cameroons is an existential crisis. If not handled properly, we will have Ambazonia 2.0 in the next 5, 10, or 15 years. But if we take the time and solve this problem the way it ought to be solved, we will never have this again. Now, imagine in a one-on-one relationship, we go to court and sign a marriage certificate so that we can protect each other in that relationship. Then imagine that we just voted in 1961. The relationship was not consummated as the United Nations instructed. After the plebiscite, they went into the United Nations and scheduled the independence for October 1st, 1961. On April 21st, the United Nations came together. The vote that you see, that was saying we agree to the results and the mechanism that the United Nations was using towards the independence of Southern Cameroons. The resolution 1608 was issued that same day. It required a union treaty before October 1st. We had to gain independence by joining. And because that union treaty was not signed, ratified, and registered at the UN, our status remains incomplete independence, incomplete decolonization. So this case is very strategic, that if not handled with care, this might take us 10 more years behind. That is why everyone must involve in solving this problem. Everyone. If not, whatever you're building will be destroyed by Ambazonia 2.0 in the future. I'll start this session with a story. But before we jump into this story, click the subscribe button. Share this video with a friend or relative, because that is how we make progress as a community. Some said, oh, I said we should call the Southern Cameroons, and no one listened. No, it is more than just Southern Cameroons. But at least I place Southern Cameroons on the table to help you all understand the depth of this problem. And some have picked up that name Southern Cameroons and they can't even tell the story properly. That is how technical this issue is. One mistake, we will go back 10 more years. And this will be the story in our community. I will start by sharing with us a story of what nations do when they experience a disaster or have a challenge like what we are currently going through. In the 1700s, the British Navy had a massive problem. They could measure latitude easily, but they could not measure longitude. That one missing measurement caused disaster after disaster. One of the most famous cases is that of Admiral Sir Cloudesley Shovel. You know the British, they are seafaring people, proud seafaring people. In 1707, he was leading a fleet back to England. His navigator tried to estimate their longitude. But because longitude required precise timekeeping, which they didn't have, it didn't exist at the time, they had no accurate way to know where they really were. They thought they were safely away from land, but they were wrong. The fleet smashed into the rock near the Isles of Scilly. Over 1,400 sailors died instantly, including Shovel himself. This was one of the worst maritime disaster in British history. All because they could not measure one important variable: longitude. What did the British do? The British realized the truth. The empire could collapse if it could not measure one thing accurately. That is why you see these people build nations the way they do. Details matter, because one disaster, we all go down. So Britain took an extraordinary step. They created the Longitude Act of 1714. Parliament passed a law offering an enormous prize, over 20,000 euro reward, for anyone who could create a reliable way to measure longitude at sea. This was one of the earliest examples of a government using a national scientific challenge to solve a crisis. Britain, America, France, China, all these nations have one thing in common. When they experience a disaster, they take time to solve that problem so that it never resurfaces again. So to my people of the Southern Cameroons, for 9 years now, we have experienced a disaster. We use the name Ambazonia. We assume we got our independence in 1961, and yet we are not a UN member state. If we don't take the time and solve this problem now, it will resurface in the future, and it will be worse than what we have experienced for the past 9 to 10 years. This issue requires skill. Some have picked up the name Southern Cameroons and they can't even explain the story. And some believe in our community that the older you are, the more you know. Some believe that those who have loud tone with the microphone, they know better. And if we don't make adjustments to that now, because this behavior has been in our community for hundreds of years, it didn't start today. Those with loud tone always lead the community, and they always know little. You have it in every family. If you think you don't have it in your family, then it is you. Now, why is this important? I place the name Southern Cameroons on the table, and some people think, oh, if we just go now to the UN with Southern Cameroons and look for a nation to sponsor us, and then we will find freedom. No, this case, Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia are two distinct entities. Two distinct entities. Note that. This is my stance on this issue. La République extended their administration into a UN trust territory without documentation for 65 years. This is a breach of international law. And some think, oh, am I against fighting? No. We would have been fighting since 1961. And this problem will be done away with. But our leaders went and served in that government instead of making sure that we have proper documentation. So while the young men on the ground will be doing what they are doing, but this job, because at the end of the day, we will need the UN to approve us as a member state into the UN to be a country. We are still a nation. A nation with an incomplete decolonization status. So what happened? People try to argue about independence or union. That's what has been happening in our community. Barrister Harmony Bobga raised a serious concern that we don't have a union treaty. And if you hear what Foncha is saying about the same thing, Foncha said, Aijo used the draft constitution to declare federation and the union. And they flipped it around and they are calling it reunification day. And some people still think, oh, La République is smart. Oh, they played us. They didn't play us. They are not smart as you think. Please. When I see smart people, I know one. And some think that to be a Southern Cameroonian indicates that you shouldn't correct someone that is from Southern Cameroons. That is messing this case up for us. If you place that name Southern Cameroons on the table and say anything wrong on your platform, we will call you out. Because your message goes out into the community and the people pick up the wrong signal and this problem will never go away. So you're indirectly attacking all of us through your platform. This has nothing to do with any personal issue with anyone. The facts, we are addressing ideas, not an individual. What kind of friend would you say you have that can never correct you? What kind of community? Oh, just leave them so. Oh, just let it go. No. This is the dispensation of no leave them so. That is the only word I'll allow you to use in pidgin when you call me. Do not allow ignorance in our community, because at the end of the day, we want the world to see us as competent people. People who know what they are doing. People who can lead themselves. Without that, freedom will never come. The biggest hindrance to the progress of Southern Cameroons is Ambazonia now as we speak. Never forget that. What happened? People had no measurement of the legal coordinates. No understanding of Article 102. You've never heard them say these things. So some thought it's just Southern Cameroons. One mistake. One mistake. We will struggle for a very long time. What God is doing through this case, number one, humbling us. There's a lot of pride in our community and God wants us to be humble. I said 70% of the problem is with us. Just 20% is with La République du Cameroun. Some are fumbling right now. And they want to mess up things for us. 10% is with the UN. 70% is with us. God wants us to humble. To be humble. Some say, oh, the best has come already. I ask you a simple question. Back in 1960, why didn't we have Facebook? If the people back then knew better, why didn't we have Facebook? Why didn't we have YouTube? Why didn't we have Apple computer back then? The best is yet to come. I believe that my children will be better than me. If you're a father that thinks you'll be better than your children, I have an issue with that kind of mindset. I talked with Barrister Harmony Bobga a couple of days ago. When we got on phone, the first thing he told me is, I'm not interested in power, Roland. I want to mentor the next generation. And he is in his 60s. I said, this is what leadership looks like. This is what a true leader in our community look like. Because everyone made me to think like, oh, is it that everyone in here doesn't understand these concepts? When he said that to me, I said, this is a leader. This is a senior citizen who understands some of the ills the previous generation has caused. And why the current generation must pick up this mantle with energy and push through to the end. He understands that. People never understood the UN procedures, and they are still running their mouth like there will be a lot of work to be done. They never understood incomplete decolonization. They thought it's just Southern Cameroons. I'm listing all the factors or the variables in this case. No idea that gaining independence by joining, what does that really mean? They didn't know that. People didn't know that till today. 2025, they don't still know. You still share a message like this, people will go on to say the same thing they've always said. No treaty deposited. That is like the longitude missing. I said just a one-on-one relationship will go sign a marriage certificate. Then two nations coming together without a marriage certificate. This problem will resurface. So if there's anything you should invest in, if you have hope to go back home someday, if you have hope to build a business back home, if you are back home already, if you have hope to build anything that will last, including your building, including your life, investing in this case is much more important than anything else right now. A nation should understand what emergency means. When that happened in England, that became a national emergency. This missing union treaty is a national emergency for Southern Cameroonians. Because of this, the entire movement keeps crashing on the rock. Just like the British fleet, the danger isn't ignorance alone. It is thinking you know where you are when you actually don't. Even the greatest empire in the world collapsed a fleet because they lacked one measurement: longitude. Our people have crashed for 65 years because we lack one measurement: legal clarity. A union treaty. That union treaty is a reference document that if things were not going on well, we could fall back to that and say, this is what we agreed. None of that exists. So we can never make progress as Southern Cameroonians without addressing this issue. I'll give you an overview of our history, how far we have come and where we find ourselves today, and how we can make progress moving forward. I want you to imagine, because some people have issues when I say, oh, I'm the best. And they're like, oh, no, this other person knows better than you. No, if I say I'm the best, that means I will bring in the best solution to solve our problem. You should be happy about that. If for 9 years we haven't made progress, then what the people know is not sufficient. What you assume your leaders know is not sufficient. Just like for 43 years, Cameroon has been the same way. Why? Because what Paul Biya knows is not sufficient. If you know and you don't do, you don't know. Do you understand? If you know, you should do. If you can't do what you know, or if you do what you know and the problem is not going away, then you don't know. So I don't rush into conclusion. I just put out Southern Cameroons and you heard the explanation in the community. It tells you people don't know. And I'll put more stuff and then I'll listen to how they explain it. but we will not allow anyone to distort the story. Imagine this. Muhammad Ali in America said, I'm the best, I'm the greatest. And people cheered him. Donald Trump said, I'll make America great. The people say, yeah, we'll vote you and we'll see what you get to do. And I tell you, I will solve this problem. I will solve this problem. And you're like, oh, no, it's not. For 9 years, I've brought, and I'll show you with work, not talk. And if you think my vision is limited to Southern Cameroons, no. My goal for the black race is bigger than just Southern Cameroons. I'm like the Kwame Nkrumah 2.0, an upgraded version of Kwame Nkrumah. And imagine this, because this is the kind of community we have. If we don't address this, we will struggle. Imagine you live in a family, maybe you 3 of you, right? Your mom gets up and says, oh, I'm going to the market. The dishes are dirty. The living room needs to be swept. Clothes needs to be washed. These are all tasks we need to do to keep the house clean. And your mom goes to the market. Your elder sister chooses not to do anything. And then you wake up, you clean the house, you clean the dishes, you wash the clothes. Your mom comes back and she's happy because the house is clean, the dishes are clean. And she asks the question, who did it? You said, I did it, Mom. And then your elder sister says, shut up. The most important thing is that the house is clean. Must you say you're the one who cleaned it? Imagine the next time Mom gives a task, you don't do anything, just watch and see if the house will be clean. And then Mom comes back and punishes you all because the house is dirty. And then you realize that the next time that same assignment is given and you clean the house, when Mom comes back, you say, Mom, I cleaned the house. Then your mom gets to reward you. When your mom rewards you, your elder sister realizes, if I don't clean the house, I will not be rewarded. That brings structure. That brings progress. Human beings get to work and become productive, and then they are rewarded for what they do. We have built a society where we don't want to give credit for those who are putting in work. We want to assume, no, the problem was just solved. That kind of a society, brother, it will take us 100 years and none of our problems will be solved. Because those people, I told you, you think today you see them on platforms, they think we don't know. I understand your DNA, your makeup. That spirit in you has existed in our community for hundreds of years. The people in the family, in the community, in your friend circle, they are always loud but no little. And people always tell you, just leave them alone when they are causing trouble. But today, moving forward, we say no to that behavior. So we have to learn how to reward people. Those who are doing a good job in the community, we reward them. When you see a Tofis, you say, oh, this is a Tofis. Why don't you have an issue with a Tofis saying I'm the best soccer player in the whole of Africa? You might be the best doctor. I don't know. Whatever you are good at, an engineer. Whatever God has put in you, harness that skill. Everyone will not do everything. That is why your 5 fingers are not equal. Everyone has a duty and a responsibility. There are some things you can do better than me, and I will never, ever venture into your space. But this, with the understanding that I have on this, and listening to everyone in the community, no one has put things the way I have done. And I approve this with my work. Maybe you don't know. So, if I show you what I have done, it's not bragging. It's to help you understand the creativity that came out of me to help solve the problems and challenges in our community. You should be happy. If I tell you I'm the best and I'll solve this problem, for 9 years, the problem hasn't gone away. You should be happy that the problem will be solved. Why are you angry? If you know me well, I'm not somebody that brags. I don't. But the kind of society that we have built, we must learn to give people credit where credit is due. I'm the one who stood up on this platform and say, let's go back, use the name Southern Cameroons, and there is a lot that comes with it that you think is just the name. It's not just that name. And the fight for Southern Cameroons is completely different from the fight of Ambazonia. In Ambazonia, you don't need skill in Ambazonia. If you just have a loud voice and you can say, La Republic is doing this wrong, La Republic is doing that wrong, you are a leader in Ambazonia. This is very strategic and tactical, technical at the same time. One little mistake, you will be placed in a completely different category. So for those who don't know, I created the African generational milestone. So my mission is bigger than just Southern Cameroons. The African generational milestone. I am the one who stood up and challenged Kwame Nkrumah's idea of Pan-Africanism, the modern Pan-Africanism. How unrealistic that idea is. Trying to lump an entire continent into one country. We have 7 continents on earth. None of these continents are thinking to become one country except us. I'm the one who helped us understand that this was not the mission of the original Pan-Africanists. And what is the African generational milestone? That is, if you are from 0 to 100, you can understand your assignment on earth based on how old you are as an African. That is a powerful tool. I will link that in the description. So you click that, you can see your assignment based on your age. When I heard Barrister Harmony Bobga, what he said, this is an enlightened man. He's in touch with himself. Because what he said, he hasn't read that. He hasn't gone through the African generational milestone. But what he said fits into that instrument that I created. Because most people are confused in our community because they don't know their assignment. You wake up, whatever you feel, just do it. You see what everybody is doing and it's making money, you just rush into that. I have never designed my life that way. It's not about money for me and what is popular. It's about what is right and my calling. So I created the African generational milestone for that purpose. To help Africans recalibrate. Making Ghana great is making Africa great. Just like China, making China great is making Asia great. Singapore, making Singapore great is making Asia great. You, making Southern Cameroons great is making Africa great. You don't have to unite the entire continent of Africa to be great. That is ludicrous. He got kicked out. Kwame Nkrumah got kicked out from his own country. Ended up in exile. And some say, oh, why don't we just go on and use the name that we want? We have not had independence yet, full independence. So using any other name than Southern Cameroons is just a blunder. When you have had your independence, you can decide to name yourself whatever you want. But using that, you will never ever get the world to hear you. You won't bend this world to fit into your will. You must bend and follow where the world is going. So I created that instrument to help Africans find themselves deconstructing the one African narrative, because it is preventing every Southern Cameroonian from fully giving their heart into the cause of liberating their people. Because Pan-Africanism is against borders. So mentally, you cripple your own self. It's against borders. So if Pan-Africanism, the modern Pan-Africanism is against borders in Africa, then you have to start by letting go your own border. So you fighting any cause that has to do with a border doesn't make sense. It contradicts what you believe. And I had to deconstruct that. So you don't know the depth of research. I'm the one. You see Tika, I went close to 4,000 years into our history to understand how we migrated from Sudan to Bam, to the Bamenda Highlands, to find myself. That is why solving the issue of Southern Cameroons is very trivial, because I understand how far we have come as a people. This is my research work. I don't talk, I prove, and I show you what I have done. The original founders of Pan-Africanism was W.E.B. Du Bois and Sylvester William. Sylvester William was a lawyer from Trinidad. W.E.B. Du Bois was a sociologist from America. These are the individuals who sat down in London in the 1900s and came up with the idea of Pan-Africanism. But they were also inspired by other pan movements, because we think we are the first group of people with the pan idea. No, there are other nations or other groups that have come up. Pan-Germania. Germany wanted to unite as well. We've had pan-Slavism. We've had pan-Arab. And all those pan movements have failed. Never forget that Ayok Seseko Tabe and the rest were arrested in Nigeria, an African country, and international law says this was a violation. They were arrested in an African country. So you can't even trust the neighbors that you are claiming you want to be one with. Issa Churuma Bakari is in the Gambia. He can't speak, so you can't even find refuge in the nation that you claim you want to be one with. So, my people, I have grown past the idea of black and white, colonial master, and all that trivial conversation. I'm looking at reality. Some of you, the greatest hindrance in your life has come from your own family or your friends, people close to you, not some distant enemy. And you have to be real with life. And I see good and bad. I don't see black and white. There are evil black people as well as there are good black people. There are evil white people as well as there are good white people. And that is how I see life. Do you understand? So I came up with the African generational milestone. I wrote the book, The Cameroon Dream. This was a 20 years economic plan. That means I saw the transformation of Cameroon as a possibility for me, that this nation can move forward if things are done a certain way, because I understand that these leaders don't know. Life is more difficult when you know and you don't do. Do you understand? Yes, life becomes hard when you're doing the wrong thing. When you do the right thing, life is easy. Even the challenges you meet on the way you overcome those challenges is different. So I wrote this book, The Cameroon Dream. This 20 years economic plan, looking at some of the best nations on earth, nations that pull themselves out of poverty like China, South Korea. How did they do it? Looking at nations like America, benchmark their strategies, select key industries, look at key indicators and say, if we are able to follow this blueprint, we'll make progress. There is conflict resolution in here, a lot. Leadership in this one book. Some people think it's just about the Cameroon dream. Just hear the title. I gave that country a dream. So if I am placing my hands on Southern Cameroons, you should understand what that means. Anyone that has known me in my life, you know anything that I put my hand on, I'll be the best. That means you get the best. If Steve Jobs says I'm the best, I produce the best computer, that means we are enjoying those products and our lives are better because of that. You should be excited. You have been trained to be angry when someone is the best among you, instead of being excited. And then you ask yourself, what can you be the best at so that we can also enjoy your own gifts? That is how we build a society that works. So I show you with my work. So I've shown you the framework, right? What we're missing. Now, an overview of our history. For the first time in our history, I want to explain our story from the very beginning, from German Kamerun, to the exact reason why our conflict still continues today, and how long it will take for the United Nations to act. No sugarcoating. I'm not promising you something that we won't have if we do things the right way. So this is not emotion. This is not politics. This is evidence, procedure, and truth. One thing I want you to understand about me, my people, I'm very stable under chaos. That means you can drop death before me and I don't blink. And you think maybe I'm heartless, because if I blink, it won't change anything. You're gone. So screaming, shouting, I don't. Do you need to be carried to the hospital? What is the next steps? That's why you see in most funerals, men don't cry. You think they don't feel the pain of someone they've lost? No, they do feel the pain. But brother, you have to pick up a diggers. You have to pick up a spade, a hoe, and do something. You have to provide drinks for those who are coming around. So sitting there and crying won't help. So when they send me pictures of our young people on the ground and our people perishing, I don't shy away from it. I watch it. I don't blink. I shared with you the story of fire burning my house. No, I was thinking on exactly what I need to get out of that house so I don't get myself into trouble since fire was burning the house. I don't blink under chaos. So, and that is the kind of mind you need to solve this problem. That you look at it and you tell the truth the way it is. Anyone that is so emotional, that's our community. Emotion everywhere. We can't solve any problem with that kind of energy. So our story began in 1884 when Germany created a colony called Cameroon. I'm starting from German Kamerun for a reason. This territory stretched across West and Central Africa as one unit. Germany ruled until World War I. When Germany lost the war, the Allies divided its colonies everywhere around the world, including Africa. In 1916, Britain and France defeated the German forces and split the territory. France took the bigger portion of Cameroon, called French Cameroon. Britain took 2 strips of land. They're calling it 2 strips of land, besides Nigeria, Northern and Southern Cameroons. In 1922, the League of Nations made this division official. The League of Nations made this division legal and official. After World War II, the League of Nations ended after World War II. The United Nations created the Trusteeship System. Northern Cameroons and Southern Cameroons became a UN Trust territories. Britain was the administering authority, but the UN supervised the process. A distinction between a British administrator or administration. UN supervised. So when people tell you, oh, Britain sold us, we want to blame Britain. Look, fix our character in the community first. Let's fix our character, upright people. Push those who know and let them help us find light, and not push them on the side and have, it's happening everywhere. We have smart people in this community, because I refuse to think that our people are dumb. But all those smart people are always pushed on the side, and those who are loud always lead. Britain sold us. They will sing it, because if you repeat it time again and again, people will believe it. Show me the document. Who bought us? Who sold us? Is that factual? I'm not saying you don't criticize some of these nations. Do, but be factual. Like when I say, if you look at the French colonies around the world, they are not working. These are facts. It's not emotion. These are facts. Like Haiti, right here, it's not working. Every colony of France is struggling. But it's still not wise saying things like this. It's not helpful. And I said, let's stay away from propaganda. That is what has destroyed our community. Gossipers with no facts. These are the people that have destroyed our community. Has nothing to do with Europeans. Every trust territory had the right to self-government, number one, self-determination, number two, independence, number three, a clear legal pathway to its independence, or a clear legal pathway to its final status. And the UN had three pathways to independence. You've never heard what I'm sharing with you right here from any scholar in our community. There is no textbook in Cameroon that has the sequence that I'm outlining in this video, so pay attention. The UN Trusteeship System offered three legal options. Number one, full independence. Number two, free association with another country. Number three, independence by joining a neighboring state through a treaty supervised by the UN. Southern Cameroons was not offered option 1 or 2. We were given option 3. That is independence by joining a neighboring state through a treaty supervised by the UN. Is this making sense? This is your story. This is history. It's not up for debate. We can debate about creativity. We can debate about things that needs you to think and improvise. This is history. You either study it, understand it, and explain exactly what happened, because this is something that has happened already. So we should have little speculation on this. Southern Cameroons had its own parliament. This is our story. Its own prime minister, Jongo Foncha, its own government, its own judiciary, a seat in the UN Trusteeship Council. Not at the UN, but in the UN Trusteeship Council. We were preparing for our final political status. In 1961, the UN asked us, the people of the Southern Cameroons, do you wish to achieve independence by joining Nigeria or by joining the Republic of Cameroon? This was not a vote for union. This was not a vote that created a country. This was a vote to choose the pathway the UN would use to deliver independence. Let me repeat that again. This was a vote to choose the pathway the UN would use to deliver independence. So Southern Cameroons voted to join La République du Cameroun. Again, voting is not equal to joining. Issa Chiruma Bakari was voted by the people. Is he the president of Cameroon? No. So voting is interest. Now there is a legal process to make that official. But only through a legal UN supervised process would we have joined Cameroon legally, La République du Cameroun legally, because that did not happen. That is why you see 65 years later, our forefathers thought they could just go get a job in that government and that will brush everything on the side. 65 years later, look at where we are today. So if we don't solve this in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, everything will crumble. These are some of the most important things in our life that we underlook. Let me just go make money. Let me just rush around and do stuff. But at the end of the day, without solving this, it will resurface in the future. On April 21st, 1961, the UN passed Resolution 1608. It ordered 3 things. That Resolution 1608 on April 21st, 1961, you've seen the votes they talk about. We already had the plebiscite. So those nations were voting on the date we will have our independence. They were voting on the process through which the UN organized that plebiscite and the option the UN offered Southern Cameroons. That is what they were voting. Yes to everything leading to independence. It was not debatable. We ought to have independence. We ought to. Every trust territory gained their independence using one of these three ways. So we ought to have independence. They were voting on the date. They were voting saying yes to the results, yes to the mechanism, and yes to everything. And those who voted no were saying, oh, no, UN. I mean, imagine there was Cold War at that time. Never forget that. There was Cold War. So Britain was really struggling. That was post-Second World War. The administrative cost was high. So they had to leave the territory as fast as they can. So the resolution 1608 ordered three things: a tripartite conference, the United Kingdom's, Southern Cameroons, and La République du Cameroun had to sign a union treaty that will be ratified and registered at the UN. So a union treaty or agreement that defines the terms. Registration of the treaty under Article 102 of the UN Charter to be done to make that relationship legal. Just like the court has to sign in order to make that marriage legal. If not, tomorrow, your husband passes away, the siblings or some distant cousin might come to claim the property. And today, we didn't have that. What has happened? They are claiming us today. But if we had a union treaty, that would have protected us, even while they were moving from East and West Cameroon, moving from a federal system to a unitary system. On what? On what foundation were you making these changes? Without a union treaty, how did you go on to make all these changes? Who are you federating with? Who are you uniting with? You get it? These are the questions I ask. So these steps were mandatory. That is why I said it's incomplete independence, incomplete decolonization, because without these steps, no union ever existed between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun. So we don't even go into their draft constitution and the Fumban and all that. We don't even get into that. It's not legally binding. Fumban is not legally binding. That is why our community is caught up with conspiracy, because we believe that if you come into a meeting, you have a meeting with someone, then that meeting is legally binding. No. It is not legally binding. The legal experts in our community should know this. Without a signed union treaty, we don't have a union. Without a signed marriage certificate, we don't have marriage. You can call it boyfriend, girlfriend, be factual, consistent, direct. So it was mandatory. Without them, independence through union could not be completed, because those steps were mandatory. That, my brother, that if you don't write the common entrance, you can't get into Form 1. You can't say you graduated class 7. This is what we are doing here. We are trying to say we had a common entrance certificate without writing the exam. So here's the truth. None of these steps ever happened. Now, no tripartite conference, no treaty, no Article 102 registration, no constitutional guarantees. Nothing. That is why we are struggling today. That is why we will continue to suffer forever if we don't fix this problem now. No legal union. Britain withdrew administratively, not legally. That is why we are bringing them in here. That's why I say this case is technical. If anyone in our community, you share things like this, some people have pride and arrogance. They come here and still tell me, oh, run behind them on what they are doing. God is humbling you people in this community. If there is one thing, that is what he's doing. If not more pain, if you don't address this and you're pointing to La République, you're pointing to Britain and France, brother, no, the problem is with you. Humble yourself. If you don't know, humble yourself, ask questions. My number is on the screen. Barrister Harmony Bobga could get on the phone with me. That is the kind of a leader we should be listening to or working with on this issue. That character is very important than whatever you know. Your success in this life, 85% is your attitude. Only 50% is skill. If I did not humble myself, if I didn't have an open mind, God cannot use me to bring about this depth of clarity. And I will tell you what I'm doing. I will claim it to the glory of God so that you will not distort it for your selfish ambition while our people struggle. So I'm not trying to, oh, this is who I am. No. If you know me, I'm not that kind of person. But we will not allow ignorance, my brother, to consume our community with smart people in here that can build things. So Britain withdrew administratively, not legally. La République du Cameroun extended authority without a treaty. That is the case. People say, oh, no, you voted, you joined. No, you don't. Life doesn't work like that. Look at the process. Did you follow it to the end? No. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote in 2016, but Donald Trump became president because the Electoral College chose Donald Trump. There is always a due process. Southern Cameroons entered a legal vacuum. That is what we entered inside. So everything is incomplete. This is called incomplete decolonization, not secession. So all this manipulative language that politicians from La République use, I know it's out of ignorance. They don't know. That is why I'm teaching. By the time you hear my video and then you continue in that ignorance, then we are going to address this issue. It is not secession, not rebellion, not internal conflict. This is an international case. That is why I say, when you put yourself under the label Ambazonia, you make this a local dispute. By now, the world would have heard us. If we followed all the steps that I'm outlining here, the world would have heard us by now. But you see this path? It will take us 50 years. No one will hear you. It doesn't make sense. The case doesn't make sense. Ambazonia says we got into a union, and you don't have a union treaty to prove, to show for that. You understand? An incomplete UN process. That is what we are dealing with here. Because the legal process was never completed, the UN never recognized independence of Southern Cameroons. The UN doesn't recognize the independence of Southern Cameroons. So incomplete independence, incomplete decolonization. La République had no right extending their administration into a UN trust territory, given the fact that they even voted no, which means they were skeptical of the entire process. Maybe they didn't have money. Maybe they were a young nation trying to get their act together, and joining another nation might be a challenge. That is why the UN really has to look into this issue and make sure that those in the Southern Cameroons build a nation all by themselves, because it's going to be hard. We are the only country that never had complete independence, complete decolonization from the 11 trust territories that were left, that were given this parts. So, because the legal process was never completed, the UN never recognized independence of Southern Cameroons. A lawful union with La République du Cameroun is not there. It doesn't exist at the UN. So for almost 10 years now, more than 7,000 lives, the numbers might be low, might be large, but over 7,000 lives have been lost because of a procedure. A procedure was left unfinished in 1961. This is the truth. No one ever explained clearly like I have done, sequentially. To resolve this, and this is the most important part, how do we solve a problem like this? What can we do to solve this problem? We must prepare a professional UN submission backed by, take note of this, international law experts, treaty law specialists. You see the categories of people: not anyone with a high voice on the platform that thinks they know. These are the criteria of the job description to tackle this issue. And in the next 2 years, we can have the UN look into our issue and solve this problem forever. Do you understand? Not some random lawyer that doesn't understand the case, sits in their little room, prepare. We've seen everything that has been filed at the UN from 1995 right up to 2021. And that kind of a case tells the world you are not prepared for the independence you claim. This is the job description of the team of people that we need to solve this problem. Not a president, a vice president, and a cabinet. No. Number one, international law expert, treaty law specialist, historians, diplomatic strategists, policy writers, a communications team. I think our community has some people that are good in that. A project manager. This is not activism. This is paperwork, law, and procedure. I'll repeat them again. This is the job description. This is 65 years, and this problem hasn't gone away. We don't need presidents, vice presidents, and a cabinet. We need skilled, competent people that understand what they are doing. With this team, I will know exactly what task to assign each and every one of them. And as they go out there and they are doing their job, within 2 years, we can have the UN in the Southern Cameroons. Maximum 5 years. Because I have specific tasks for each and every department that I've outlined here. And these are the people that work together. We build a file that the UN will get to hear us. Number one, international law experts. We need treaty law specialists. We need historians, diplomatic strategists, policy writers, a communications team, a project manager. Again, this is not activism. This is paperwork, law, and procedure. Once our documents are professionally submitted, there is more to this. I'm just giving you a hint. Some people think like, oh, wow, you're sharing this. La République du Cameroun might. No, this is public information. Then imagine what I know that I'm not sharing with you. Imagine when La République du Cameroun is finally summoned. You think what will happen with Seseko Ayok Tabe, Mancho, BBC, those who are in prison across the world? When they are released, what will happen to them? The soldiers that have died in Southern Cameroons and they left children and wives behind. What do you think will happen to those people? Have you guys thought of how this country will look like? The leadership of this country, we need to calm down. Arrogance will keep us in a loop. And when you see someone like me, be happy. We need courageous people like me, confident people. This is what the world respects. Don't feel threatened, be happy. Upgrade your energy. Have you thought of the leadership of this country? Have you thought of the future of this country? That's why I see us becoming a first world nation in the next 20 years. Be excited and start learning skills. What are you going to do for us to build the first world nation in Africa? Those are the questions each and every one of us ought to be answering. So imagine, you already feel like this is too much information. No, I'm educating. People need, there are many Southern Cameroonians that have not been involved in this crisis because it was poorly thought out. The idea doesn't make sense. And I mean, it's good to do something than do nothing. But this idea, no. The way it was executed, the way it was thought out, the whole idea all by itself, the foundation is lame. You guys should be asking yourself all this question. Some of you insult some foreign nations. If you are sent to go represent us, you go into that hall and you have to sit and have a conversation with these people you've been insulting. Watch your mouth, my people. So once our documents are professionally submitted, one wrong filing on this case can sabotage everything forever. Because some people think now it's Southern Cameroon. No, some people fight at the UN with Southern Cameroons. A brother told me that almost every petition filed through Ambazonia at the UN was put in the trash. The ones I'm talking about has nothing to do with Ambazonia. No, these are petitions the UN received, and some had Southern Cameroons on it, but they didn't have the full picture, and yet nothing happened. So that means the solution was not there. My brother, if the car is working, you get in and you drive, it should take you to your destination. If the car can't drive, the car is not working, the car is not competent. So you don't tell me some people know. No, people know in parts. You understand? On this subject. So once our documents are professionally submitted to the right department at the UN, this process normally takes 2 to 5 years. No sugarcoating. Everyone should know. 2 to 5 years. This is realistic. This is how international law works. Now, to prepare the legal documents, hire experts, travel to the UN and other nations where we will need specific materials, specific relationships that will help facilitate this cause. Because it's not every nation that you go to look into this issue. And the top 5 nations at the UN, you have to consider their interests globally, even in the formation of this case. Like you see, China is one of the big 5. And China is saying to Taiwan, you can't break away. So the Taiwan is doing something that can be associated with our case, but ours is different. So this is something that I'm not just thinking just about us breaking away. I'm looking at the people that will make decisions or people that will have a say on our issue. What is their stance? How are they behaving with their own neighbors? I put all of that into consideration. If you look at the China, Taiwan, and other nations around China, that's just one example. They are saying to those from Taiwan, you can't break away. They might easily misunderstand our case as a breakaway case if not tackled properly, and a message put in there that tackles that problem, that even China say, okay, this one makes sense. Because if China can support Southern Cameroons, that is assumed to be a secessionist movement, then Taiwan too will break away. So that is just one key indicator to help you understand. People who think like, oh, they just need Southern Cameroons and then they'll go file a case. No, we are looking at technical angles of this case. And you feel like this is too much information, then our community has really been in darkness. So we will need a budget between $700 to $1 million within these 5 years. We might need more, I don't know, but at least this is an estimate that is accurate, that within 5 years, we need to spend this amount within 5 years or within the 2 years, depending on how the process goes. So we need anywhere from $700 to $1 million for this project. Just the legal clarity that I have brought on this issue right up to this moment, and the legal experts that I contacted and asked specific questions, because not just meeting a legal expert or you think you can put the specialists together and then magic will happen. No, you will understand this problem. We will be asking questions to these people, giving them tasks to go do. That when they bring it together, we put everything together and it makes sense. That is what this case looks like. Because some people think like, oh, that's why I'm telling you, I'll share with you. I will not hide it. I'll tell you people all our process will be very transparent. That is why even the finances, how this process will be financed will be transparent for the entire community to see. That is why I show you all the experts that will be needed. If you think, oh, just go to those experts and then you go fix the problem. God really wants us to be humble. A brother says something like this: Britain put up £20,000 to say the person that will solve the problem of longitude will give them that money. That is how a community works. From today, moving forward, this is the kind of society we will build. We are not building another version of La Republic, full of thieves, liars, people that are not genuine, always want to lie, cook up propaganda. No, we are building something better. I've put my all into this. And I don't put my hands into something at this level without something coming out. Do you understand? We are not building another version of La Republic. We are making something better. So I share with you what needs to be done. You can take everything I tell you, but you will never do it like me. I've given people things like this. So take whatever you take and go and try what you're trying. Instead, unite. Let's build. Support. Let's build. Come together. Let's build. My number is on the screen there. Reach out. That will be the first step towards being humble and God blessing our land. Moses brought the children of Israel out of Egypt. He went to the mountain to talk with God. Upon returning, they had built a golden calf. This is our story. There are some people who will try to build a golden calf after hearing what I say. And you think you want to build exactly the golden calf like the children of Israel did. No, golden calf is stumbling blocks you put on your way with the claim that you know, and you destroy yourself and your people. A golden calf. And Moses was frustrated. Just how many minutes? I've just put out Southern Cameroons. People run now. Oh, they want to go do Southern. That is it. Golden calf. God will always bring you back to the person you heard it from, and then you take instructions from there. He unleashes the next step. At the end of the day, every credit for this work goes back to God. Whether you like it or not, you might be a Muslim, you might be a traditionalist, whatever you believe. I don't have an issue with that. This is not an issue about religion. This is what is happening with me in this process. And I will give credit where credit is due, beginning with God Almighty. I'm not pushing my religion on anybody. I'm a Christian. I'm not pushing that on you. You don't want to be a Christian? Good luck with that. So this is not money for war. This is money for research, documentation, legal drafting, diplomatic engagement, administrative operations. This is what this money will be used for. It will be transparent and none of you will be coming to me. The community will put people together and we'll have someone that will be in charge of that, and the process will be transparent for the whole community to see. $1 is not coming directly to me. I know the community that I'm dealing with. It's to help free you. Because tomorrow, oh, this man took money. So we'll have somebody that will be in charge of that, and the process will be transparent as to how much money came in and how much money left and for what purpose. So this is the peaceful and lawful path. If the UN at the end fight from now till tomorrow, the story is first of all wrong, and the UN is the final legal body that will grant you independence. My people, the smart ones in the community, make sure that you silence the voice of those over-sabi people in your families, in your communities. They will destroy your destiny and you remain in the same spot. And they always talk loud and shut down those who are competent to lead. This is happening in families and in every community. And either your parents or some elder in the community always say, oh no, just allow that person, allow that person. I saw one recently, having terrible character, the same thing. People always calm you that is doing the right thing for that person that is always doing the wrong thing in our community. In America, it's the reverse. That's why they progress. So this is, for the first time, we now understand the beginning of our story, where the process failed, why the conflict continues, what must be done, how much it will cost, and how long it will take. When you answer these questions, you can tell people, this is what we need to do confidently. Some will say, oh, it's talk. No, for how many years you've been receiving garbage on a daily basis? And I give you substance like this. It's just 3 months. Education is number one. And we'll continue to educate our people, even while we are building this case. If we have these experts on board, in the next 3 to 4 months, we can have a good case. Because I know exactly what each department will be doing. And then those who are specialists in communication, you will have an assignment or a task on exactly what to start doing moving forward on your platform. Because I see people with skills in journalism, and they think that means I'm a leader or I'm this. No, there are some people who are skilled in journalism. Some people are skilled in networking. People have different gifts. It is one thing to understand the gift that you have. It's another thing to understand how to use that gift and in what context. Because this is a project everyone in the community should get involved. I've seen many in our community, and I can tell you your strengths, your weaknesses, what you're good at. No one is useless. But many people just miss the place where they are supposed to be, and they are in the wrong place, maybe because they are running after shining objects. Many talented people in our community, but they just miss it. And that is what my job is. And I've been doing this since I was a teenager. So I understand how to look at someone and say, you'll be good here. So we need this whole team. And with this, we'll be able to make progress. If we remain focused and disciplined, Southern Cameroons can finally resolve this crisis peacefully and lawfully. This is our moment. You should note that this is our path forward. And this time, we must finish what the world abandoned in 1961. Share this video with a friend and a relative. I hope it was a blessing to you. I'll see you in the next video.